Back in 2009, before every single company wanted to make a battle royale to compete against Fortnite, we had every single company in the world trying to make an MMORPG to compete with World of Warcraft. So that way you had Wizard 101, you had Club Penguin, you had Toontown Online. I'm pretty sure you've at least heard of these names before, but one that you probably haven't heard of, or if you have, then you're one of the fortunate ones, was Fusion Fall, which was Cartoon Network's spin on the MMORPG genre. So Fusion Fall was basically the most epic crossover ever created, and that includes Fortnite, by the way, because you had every single Cartoon Network character from Dexter to Ben 10 to Powerpuff Girls to Ed, Edd and Eddy, every single one in a whole universe with these epic character designs following this nice storyline of having to defeat some dude named Fuse. I'm not talking about the guy from Apex, by the way. But what ended up happening was that just like how the battle royales are dropping like flies now, every single one of those MMORPGs eventually just started shutting down and, well, just being forgotten about until we discovered the fact that we can host private servers and reverse engineer the games to sort of just like relaunch them and immortalize them, so that way we can keep playing them. Right now, I'm playing 2023, which is exactly what we're doing now. I got the chance to run into a server called Open Fusion, which is one that's currently available on GitHub. If you just Google search Open Fusion, it's literally the first link that's in there. So let me just show you what we're doing right now. We'll just go Google search Open Fusion, and the first link, you just click on it, it's going to take you to the GitHub page. GitHub is basically an internet hosting service, so that way people can just upload their software. And this one specifically just takes you to the Open Fusion one. It has all the data that you need if you want to play the game. You just scroll down to the part that says getting started and just go for using method A if it works for you, which is just click on the little button. So once you click on the little link, it's going to start downloading the game, and all you have to do is click it, run the application, it's going to start installing, and then it's actually not that big of a program to begin with, so it's already running. So once the program launches, you have two servers, which is the original and the Academy. I didn't get the chance to play the Academy, I didn't bother checking it out, but I did click on the original, and you just connect to the server. So basically what this is doing, it's actually connecting you to the servers that are online for you to play with other people. I didn't know that when I was streaming, because when I was streaming it, the game was so dead that I had no one playing it. But because I had a couple of people show up on chat and start asking me about the game, eventually we got to the point where we had at least like 15 players at the same time playing, which for a game that had literally nobody, and then suddenly there's like 15 players, it's not bad, right? Once you get the game running, it's basically a nostalgia trip from here on out, if you guys have managed to play the game. Now, I personally, when I started playing Fusion Fall, it was back when they had that subscription service. I didn't know that at one point they just released the entire game for free, but I just basically played quote-unquote the tutorial up to the point where you had to pay. And well, I didn't really have the money at the time to keep playing, so that's where my adventure ended. But for the people that actually got to play the game when it was released for free to play, or when they actually just paid for the membership, they got to experience the whole thing. But even up to that point, it was enough for me to just have this ingrained in my memory forever. And one of the things I love the most about it is that the game, of course, not only was just an MMORPG, you go questing, kill this amount of things, collect this amount of things, quest, level up quest. Yes, it did have that because that's the core experience of the MMO, but it also had a bunch of puzzles and platforming that you didn't really see in any other games at the time. Because when you went to the portals to fight the fusion versions of the little nanos, which were basically little Pokemon collectibles that fight alongside you, there was a couple of obstacles in the map that you had to traverse, and it was a combination of that Nintendo 64 platformer Banjo-Kazooie kind of game mixed with MMO, and I think that's one of the things that made it so unique and special in the first place, you know? Yes, of course, you had the massive crossover of characters that was better than the Fortnite crossovers because you got Powerpuff Girls and stuff. Yeah, of course, that was nice. But you also had layers and layers of new interactions experience that at the time didn't really exist in MMOs to begin with, you know? I mean, I've never seen RuneScape be much of a platformer in the first place, and World of Warcraft didn't really have that at the time. So yeah, this was a brand new and fresh experience. Overall, just getting the chance to replay the game on stream, and you actually see the storyline of being a little hero from the past and traveling to the future to save the world, which is kind of weird because you're some kid from the past. Like, what the hell are you gonna know about this new age technology? It makes more sense if you take someone from the future that's more technologically advanced and more knowledgeable and bring them to the past. But no, and here you're the kid from the past going to the future, being thrust into something you have no idea what's going on, and you're like, whoa, yeah, this is the hero. Yeah, this guy's gonna save us. And you're just there with a little caveman bat going like, what? So the overall story of the game sounds really interesting because there's sort of like an alien invasion that you have to fight against, because there's this dude named Lord Fuse who wants to like conquer the earth and stuff with his army of fusions, and then you and the Nickelodeon, yeah, and you and the Cartoon Network characters are kind of just trying to fight off against him. So the overall story arc is pretty interesting. The whole use of the nano system I thought was a really big missed opportunity for PvP, because what the nano system does is that once you beat the fused version of the Cartoon Network character, they turn into a little nano which is basically like a little Pokemon that you have flying next to you that has certain abilities that helps you in the fight. So you have people that are DPS oriented, you have people that are healing, you have people that have stuns. There's a lot of potential for some really great interactions for PvP, but unfortunately it was all used for PvE instead. But even though it was just for PvE, the first thing I did was just like, okay, let me get some that have stun so I can stun lock the opponents. Let me get one that heals. And then you can like upgrade their abilities and just swap out different abilities. And for my number 2 from Kids Next Door, I picked a weird teleporting ability and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be super useful, but that only works inside the little fusion portals. And I ended up never using that when I could have gotten the speed boost, and I didn't get the speed boost. My bad, I messed up. And speaking of speed boost, because it is a private server, they did have some admin commands to help you sort of just either maneuver through the game easier or just completely mess it up. And well, I did end up tweaking with the speed boost ability a little bit just to get around the map faster. And then at one point I was just like, okay, what if I set the speed value instead of like 1000, which is normal, let me set it to 1 million and see what happens. And I ended up clipping through the entire game, and I ended up in this null void and half of my head was missing, and I kind of just broke the game, I just broke the game straight up. But it's also really interesting that yes, because it is a private server, you do have the leeway and the ability to just mess around with those things that you don't normally see in regular official launches of the game. But it's always interesting, because you're just trying to play the game as normal as you can, and you see some guy with like 100x speed just darting next to you. It's that sort of nonsense that makes the game not take itself too seriously, which makes it even more enjoyable for me to a certain degree, And of course, I'm pretty sure they had codes to change your value for your levels and spawn items and all that stuff, but I didn't really want to ruin the core experience of the game for me, because if the game has a certain amount of challenges and platforming that makes it interesting, and I didn't want to just turn it into like lol, let's click a button simulator. So what ended up happening was I kind of just messed around a little bit when I had to like move from point A to point B, but as soon as I got into a dungeon, into an instance, and I had to fight a fusion, I make sure to turn everything off and just play the game the way it's supposed to, for the sake of having fun in a game that's been dead for over 10 years. So yeah, guys, if you do want to check out Fusion Fall, you want to just sort of like relive that nostalgia, you can check out the GitHub page to download the game. I don't know if it's going to be open for long because the 2 other builds did get DMCA. This one's been running for about 3 years so far. No problems yet, so that's good, right? They also have a Discord that you can check out so that way you can see people that are also interested in it. And they also have, of course, the wiki page that has every single piece of information that you could ever want about the game. There's a lot to uncover, and if you're a fan of these old-ass classic games, well, give them a shot. I'm pretty sure you'll have fun reliving the nostalgia, even if it's for an afternoon or two. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say for now. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.